E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guimwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guimwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. My goodness gracious, we're so excited to bring some great information to you today concerning our brains. And I asked Joel, he's going to be with us in just a few moments. He's still getting to his place there with Doc. And I asked him, I says, let's do not evaluate my brain on the air today because number one, it'd be too long. Number two, it'd be way too boring. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give a shout out to a little bitty company. And I went to this over in Chapel Hill, Texas. I went to their Scarecrow Festival. You know, when you go to these festivals out there and all the vendors come together and all that. Well, I think she was the daughter of Texas Pioneer Creations. And let's see here. TexasPioneerCreations.com. They make wonderful soaps. I'm going to hold that up there. I'm going to try to get that as close to the camera there as I can without it getting too, just freeze that, you know, when you get a chance. And anyway, go see those folks. They got great soaps. And the reason why I just walked over there and I had a great polo shirt like I like to wear. And above it was retired Army. And the young lady looked at that and she said, you serve in the military? And I said, yes, ma'am. She says, well, you're the first one today. She says, I want you to pick out some soap as a gift from us. So I thanked her very much. Very nice young lady. And I wanted to give a shout out for this business here. And the people who own it are Dorothy and David Hood, Hood. Dorothy and David Hood. And their telephone number out of Houston, Texas is 281-705-3509. And you can email Dorothy at TexasPioneerCreations.com. And her website is TexasPioneerCreations.com. They got great naturally made soap and all kind of, I start to see all kind of flavors, all kind of fragrances and everything. But please be sure. And, you know, if you're looking for some good soap for men and women, very natural, you know, just as this is what I like to do. This is what we like to do in giving shout outs to people because they did not know. I didn't even mention anything about giving a shout out to them on the TV show, but I'm just going to, you know, mention it to them and hopefully it will be a blessing to them. And it's my way of saying thank you and thank your young daughter, I believe it was. Yep, lovely young lady for taking the time out to recognize me as a veteran and showing me some kindness. And said, you know, she thanked me for my service, obviously, and gave me some soap. And so that's what you do in life. You look for ways to provide value to people. You look for ways to pay it forward because that's what we're here for. And ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, when we talk about finding our health naturally, recently, I was in a discussion with an individual and he brought up an interesting comment. He says, you know, you hear about, let's say, parsley or, you know, squash or you name it, any vegetable out there. And people always talk about how, or comments are made about how rich it is in vitamin A or vitamin D or so on and so forth. Nobody discredits that because they can't. And we're coming into the flu season. It's good. Look like it's going to be a heavy flu season, but also too, We need to keep our bodies built up. Good food inside of our bodies is our first step of health and defense against all type of disease and illnesses and sicknesses and things of that nature. And it's very important for us to remember that this was a mistake that I made back in the 90s. I was in my 50s then, and I was, I didn't really look at it that much, to be honest with you, but I would eat cheeseburgers and things like this. And then I'd go home, or in the morning, I'd take, all these supplements, and thinking I'm going to be giving my body what it needs. But in reality, what I was doing, I was taking supplements, wanting good health, but I was eating like I did in my 20s and my 30s. And those two, they just don't go together at all, because your body is a processing center and it's not a recycling center. And it's important for us to realize that and understand that. And even though Joel is on the road, he's driving to the place there where he should be there. He's on Pacific time and I'm on Central time. So we're a little bit time schedule off. I see him looking around. I see him looking through the steering wheel. And I'm, folks, we're just down to earth here. There he is. Look at him smiling.
Hoorah.
How you doing, Joel?
I'm doing wonderful, Jim. Thank you for the invitation again.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure for me to have you on the show. And I'll tell you why. We go back a few years. We're both former military. I'm retarded, and I got a document that says I'm officially retarded, after 31 years. But, when I first met you, you were still on your way back. You refer to yourself as the professional patient. And
correct.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joel is the one that educated me in the fact that PTSD is not up here. It's down. I'll let Joel tell us. How do we handle PTSD? Where's it starting at, huh?
Amen, brother. That's a wonderful way to lead in. Mm-hmm. We believe that PTSD, depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, insomnia, we believe they're physical, not necessarily mental. Mm-hmm. And just like you said with the food and the supplements, it's all about the food.
Yes.
And a lot of our foods have been altered. Mm-hmm. And they have a lot of poisons in them, and toxicants and toxins and mycotoxins and chemicals. And it's really taking a toll on our bodies. And so our guts and our hearts have neurites in them. And these neurites are like communication devices to communicate with the brain. And so if the gut, the heart, and the brain aren't communicating together, you start to lose your mind. And that's where we believe these illnesses, mental illnesses, come from, is physical health. So when you look at it that way, it gives you hope that you could fix it physically, not just medicate it with a pill.
Amen on that. I was looking at a gentleman the other day, and he was sharing this information, and I wished I would have copied it down as far as the web address. But he was talking about something very near and dear to my heart. When I say heart, I do mean near and dear to my heart. Being having a heart attack almost a year ago now, and open heart surgery, and what's known as the Cabbage X4 bypass. But he was talking about the weed dandelion and the studies, not the John C. from Tupelo, Mississippi, or Barbara H. from Minnesota or somewhere. He was talking about bona fide studies that had been done over a long period of time, decades, showing that the dandelion was one of the top, weeds, that because we think of dandelion, we think of it being a weed, but it's one of the top plants that's really beneficial for our hearts. And he was saying, when you look at these studies, and this is what this study showed, and you look at this study, and this is what this study showed, he says, it's kind of like a repair kit for your heart, what it does for the valves and the heart muscles and everything. So if I find that, I'm definitely going to share that with you folks. But, a lot of things like that. And I'm not going to go into what else he said about who was really behind. Hey, let's tell everybody that dandelion's a weed. It's ugly. You need to get out of your yard. If you got dandelions in your weeds, you must be,
Right.
Anyway, we're not going to go down that street. We got too much class for that. But I think you folks out there in TV land are smart enough to put two and two together. Because when it comes to your heart, it comes to your head, your brain, your gut, your health, you have the right to be educated and have the right things put in your body, because it's amazing how much information we have out there. Goodness gracious.
Right.
And Joel, let's see here. I think I still got your, let me see here. Well, you must be a pretty good driver. I hadn't heard no horns blowing at you or anything.
Nope, I'm legal. I got Apple CarPlay, so I got both hands on the wheel.
Oh,
and I'm
man.
talking to you through the car.
There you go. I hear you. Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. It's amazing what we can do, because our TV show is just about everyday people in everyday life and what we do.
Right.
And Joel says, well, I'll be home in about 10, maybe 12, 15 minutes, or to the office, I should say. I say, ain't no big deal with us. We're just going to we're el natural around here. And we're
Low
proud of
stress
that.
or no
Yeah.
stress.
Oh,
right.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And when I tell people all the time, Joel, when I mispronounce a word, I have a degree in mispronouncing words correctly the first time, PhD in it. But people want to know just realistic information. And Joel, I tease him calling the beard of knowledge. I borrowed that from Pawn Stars when he talks about Mark from the Clark County Museum. And because down Joel's journey of how he became, he came back from a pretty dire situation. How much did you weigh? 137 pounds?
Yeah, somewhere around 135 to 137, depending.
Yeah. As he was so weak, his mom had to feed him, and he was on, the things that he had been doing, and it just wasn't working well for him. And so therefore, how did you get hooked up with Dr. Clearfield? You might have told me and might have told other audience, but let's just share with the folks if we could.
You broke up there for a little minute.
That's okay. No, how did you actually come to meet Dr. Clearfield? Because you've been with him now for 8 years, right? About 8 years, something like that?
About 7.
About 7. Okay. How did that come about, actually?
I just got deathly ill. I was really sick. Mm-hmm. And the VA hospital couldn't figure it out. And to be honest, they said it was in my head, and I need to quit stressing, and I need to eat more. And it was bad. Family started to realize it. And so my mom moved in and started cooking and helping. And she actually ended up feeding me by hand. It was so bad. And my nephew came up and gave me a phone and said, hey, here, this is what Gmail is. This is what Facebook is. And it actually started in 2014. And it escalated into 2015. It went on for about 5 to 6 months. Real bad stuff. And then as I started to get online, I started to learn about some of the corruption in the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry and how bad it is. And that got me to Whole Foods. And when I got to Whole Foods, they started helping me out with supplements and helping me out with, well, hey, we hear this works. This is what people do here. And then they got me to a magazine called Healthy Beginnings. And in the back of the magazine, you had your Reiki instructors, energy healers, your psychics, and then you had your chiropractors and functional medicine, integrative medicine, acupuncture, and Dr. Clearfield was in there.
What's the name of that magazine again? Healthy what?
It's Healthy Beginnings.
Healthy Beginnings. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We know the publisher. She's now online only. Yeah. They had to switch over copy paper and everything.
I understand.
So I got to Dr. Clearfield, and I actually looked him up online, and it said he was VA certified. And I
Mm.
kid you not, he doesn't know how that got there. He didn't put it there. And it's not there anymore. No
Hmm.
kidding. So I went to
Wow.
Dr. Clearfield and he did labs on me. And I came back about 9 days later because he got the reports back. That's how long it takes for hormone labs, especially estradiol and estrogen and so forth.
Hmm.
And he said my testosterone was incredibly low. And he started testosterone, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy with testosterone.
Hmm.
And we started to lower my estrogen,
Hmm.
uh, get it down to manageable levels. When you're low on your testosterone and high on your estrogen, that's where you get the hardcore depression and hardcore crying and hardcore just falling apart.
Hmm.
And then he started the acupuncture on me, and we went to twice a week. The anxiety was so bad and the breathing was so bad I couldn't even breathe. I had to count
Wow.
sheep sleeping to kind of remember how to breathe. It was really crazy.
Wow. Wow. Bless your heart. I'm sure glad you found him and all. And I mean, well, Dr. Clearfield, he's going to be able to join us for a little bit about the brain. Is that what he wanted to talk about?
I believe so.
Okay. Hey, I like that cap, man. That hat. That's a boonie hat, ain't it?
I'm
I
about to
like
walk
it.
in now.
Hey, let's do it. I mean, it's just I really enjoy your story because it's a true life story, ladies and gentlemen, of someone that really was had a very very difficult situation. They were a very difficult place in their life, and it's just amazing how things like that open up, doors start opening up, you trip across things and you find things, and just like he did. And now Joel describes himself as the professional patient a lot of the times, but I call him the beard of knowledge. He has his email address there and his cell phone. And he encourages veterans and anyone for that matter who is going through some difficult times to reach out to him, because he'll be glad to give you some counseling there, complimentary, of course. And Joel is now closing the door over there. He's not going to let anybody in that good stuff there. But Joel, we were talking right before we went live. You were on you'd went to an event, right?
Yes.
And I'd like for you to share some of that because, ladies and gentlemen, some of the information he has to share with you may be beneficial to you folks out there. I'm going to turn it over to Joel now.
Yeah, let me pull it up and
Okay.
give you the actual name.
Okay. All right. Well, while you're doing that, I'll just go ahead and keep on talking then.
It should be, let's see, go ahead. Yeah. There we go, 18th.
Mhm.
It was the Carson City Small Business Resource Fair.
Hmm.
And these are your SBAs and your SBDCs and your development businesses.
Okay. SBA is Small Business Administration. SDC is what?
Small Business Development Corporation, I believe, SBDC.
Oh, SB. Okay. Okay. I'm with you.
They're I believe they're actually a 501c3, the SBDC, and they're the local community implementers hired by the SBA. So they help you develop businesses and they help you develop corporations, depending on if you want to go nonprofit or for profit.
Yeah. Because the reason I want you to, pardon me interrupting you, Joel, but the reason I wanted to mention that, ladies and gentlemen, have Joel explain it to you, because I do know there's a lot of viewers out there and you're in the healthcare industry. You may be having vitamins or supplements or foods or whatever, and you're looking for ways to be able to, financially bring your goods and services to market. So that's why I wanted Joel to go into this some. So the SBA works with the SBDC, and they're the ones that kind of help everyone get the paperwork together and all that. They're kind of like the middle person.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of resources in our cities and our counties and our state and in the federal government. And sometimes they come together in these resource fairs and these business development fairs. And it's a good starting point. And for our veterans, we have Boots to Business and Boots to Business Reboot. And these are all day events to tell you how to get into business and to start working with the government contracting system also if you're a for-profit.
Yeah. And also, too, along with that, I just like to say and I forgot to mention this when I started the show, but we are one of our supporters of the show, of course, is the 6 Minute Webinar. I know that Joel is familiar with the 6 Minute Webinar. And Joel, when we offer the folks out there in TV land a complimentary introduction,
wow,
for 1 6 minute webinar that we will hand walk them through in a group, of course. But how beneficial would that be to folks out there, regardless of what they're trying to do, whether they want to write a book or make a presentation or talk about their products, or just in your own words, what's your opinion of it?
Oh, it's absolute clarity. It tells you who, what, where, when, why, and how on your idea and your business,
Yeah.
and who you are and what you are.
Mm-hmm. It certainly does. And it's a great way of getting your thoughts organized without blabbing here, blabbing there. Oh, and I forgot about the blab back here. And so the 6 Minute Webinar, that is through our show. And if you'd like to find out more about that, get a complimentary information on that, just email us at inspiration@e360tv.com. It'll come into the TV station. Our staff will get it, and they make sure that the right person, it goes to the right person, and we go from there. So you said that Dr. Clearfield and you wanted to talk a little bit about the brain, huh? And I know you guys don't understand the way my brain works, and a lot of people don't. So we're not going to go there, but I want to turn it over to you and let you talk about general brain health, wherever you want to start. This is your baby. This is your expertise.
I volunteered for Dr. Clearfield, and I went to one of the medical conventions that doctors have to go to every year to get their continuing medical education benefits. Their CME credits is what they call it. And part of those credits is suicide and ethics. Those are two of the classes that they must attend every year. And after this event, I walked out asking Dr. Clearfield why I didn't kill myself. And that was what launched me into starting to study that. And then I heard about at the time, it was like 22 veterans a day were killing themselves. And then I learned, I had heard a statistic like 14 out of the 22 weren't even going to the VA. So it looked like at that time, I think it was getting down to 19. So it was like 14 out of 19. And now we believe it's at 16 or 17. And that excludes the ones that are, succumbing to overdose. So it might be labeled as an overdose, even though they possibly took a whole pill of bottles, which we know would be suicide.
Oh, yeah.
So we believe the numbers are less than what they're reporting, because the government doesn't want to be that embarrassed per se. And it's very hard to record law enforcement or firemen or ambulance or doctors, veterans that are in those type of prideful roles.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Sometimes people don't report it because of insurance. Okay.
Yeah, and I read where dentists were very high on that list.
Actually, right now, changed. Now it's anesthesiologists, it's veterinarians, and your regular medical doctors.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. They're leading the park.
That is so tragic, because, ladies and gentlemen, I lost a son-in-law to suicide, and I know the pain that's associated with that. I know the guilt that comes with that. I know how you will start guessing yourself and saying, why didn't I pick up the phone more often? And one time he tried to contact me. This is on the old radio show we were on. And I said, I'm getting ready to go live in 15 minutes on the radio show. And the next week, he was gone. If you don't think that will roll back, snake bite you, and and just it's a horrible thing. And this tragic thing too is that when people come, even us as family members, we sit around each other, and no one knew what to say.
Right. Right.
We were very, very quiet. And when people come over, they're very, very quiet. They don't know what to say, because if he got killed in a car accident, or if
Right.
he'd had a heart attack or died from cancer, you just, our thoughts and prayers, it's easier to communicate, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But when it's, you feel like you don't know what to say. In
Agree.
fact, it happened just before Thanksgiving in 2013. None of us, even though we know we got together at Lisa's house for Thanksgiving, not a single one of us remembered.
Wow.
And then I think we remember Christmas. I'm sorry, it was Thanksgiving we remember, but Christmas, I don't
Got you.
remember. Yeah, I mean, it was one of the two holidays that none of us remembered, and I got fuzziness on both of them. It's obvious, and I'm gonna
Right.
blame that on my age, 74. Because when I can't remember something, that's why I'm getting old. And people at me, okay, that was like get out of school, get one of those free pass cards. But realistically, this is why our brain health, our overall health, our gut health is so important. It's got to be in balance.
Yeah.
When I say that, even though I'm not a doctor, everybody knows that your gut, your heart, and your brain has got to be in balance.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you pick up on that a little bit. Pick up where you want to and fill in, because I want this is good. This is your show. I'm just sitting here interrupting you.
Amen. Thank you, Jim.
Mhm.
I started volunteering with Dr. Clearfield, and I heard about a doctor called Dr. Mark L. Gordon, and
Mhm.
he's an endocrinologist, and he calls himself an interventional endocrinologist, and he runs the Millennium TBI Institute, and he created a program, a brain program, traumatic brain injury program for veterans and law enforcement. And he started
Wow.
testing out the program, and then I convinced Doc to buy his book, $500 book.
Mhm.
And then Doc took his course and actually got certified in his process. And then Doc
Mm.
threw in what he knows about hormones and added his 2 cents. And ever since then, he's even been getting 2 doctors now and
Wow.
speaking in these conferences. And
Mm.
since then, what I've learned is a lot of the veterans coming back from war, not combat. There's a
Right.
difference.
Yeah.
A lot of veterans come back, and usually it's roughly 15 to 20% experience combat. The rest are non-combat.
Mhm. That's
Well,
true.
a lot of them are killing themselves.
Yeah.
So I was wondering what's going on. Why would
Mhm.
a non-combat veteran have this high level of what psychiatry calls PTSD?
Mhm.
That's when I started to realize, oh, could it be something else? And so I
Mm.
started into poisons and toxins and chemicals and electromagnetic frequencies and radiation
Oh
and
yeah.
glyphosate, roundups, and pills and
Mm.
vaccine. And it's pretty amazing that the American Psychological Association in the 70s, the same time they were developing the anthrax vaccine, ironically,
Mhm.
they came up with the term PTSD in the
Mm.
70s. And so as I'm going down this quote unquote rabbit hole, I started to realize there's traumatic brain injury, and then there's what I call trauma brain injury. One is an impact injury, and one is a non-impact injury. And the
Makes
same
sense.
thing happens with the combat veterans and the non-combat veterans who experience IEDs or incoming mortars, and they're far enough away to where you don't get shrapnel, you don't get real bad concussions, but you get little concussions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The vibration.
Yeah, and the same thing with firing off the mortars or firing off the
Yeah.
dragons, the anti-armor missils, and the
Mhm.
50 cal. These are vibrations, and we
Oh
believe
yeah.
those cause micro abrasions in the brain. So you have micro abrasions and macro abrasions, and these
Mm.
start to mess with your hormones. And if
Mhm.
you're not eating the right food and you're not taking care of yourself, and you don't have that family structure or that friend structure or that community structure, and you're not filtering your water and or you're drinking and doing drugs, it's just a massively bad combination. And then
Mm.
you know, we have over 150,000 veterans who are now dead by their own hands since 9/11 started.
Wow. As you were saying, that makes perfect sense because I'm relating back to my days in Vietnam. And even though, we get, I was in Tay Ninh, which was AKA known as Rocket City. We would get a lot of incoming rockets. The rockets would whistle at night. The mortars, they don't make any kind of noise until they go boom, 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 boom. They just walk them in. They're very low velocity. And the thing of it is that when one of those rockets would hit, it would actually, blow up stuff, or because it was designed when one of those rockets hit the ground, it looked like someone took a pick and went outside and just picked the ground. Because
Wow.
on TV growing up, we always saw the guy throw the hand grenade and boom, a big hole blows the ground, and the other guys run up there and they dive into the hole where this grenade blew up. That's not the way the world turns over there in combat. And of course, shrapnel's flying. I've seen red shrapnel fly through the air because it goes up like a cone in a V type of situation. But you feel the what's the word there? You feel the impact,
The vibration.
the vibration from that. Yeah. So when you're talking about it, going like, wow, that's making so much sense there. Yeah, it really is. And what we're talking about, this is not limited to men and women in uniform.
No.
It really isn't, because out there in everyday world, I mean, you can get all kind of vibrations like that, especially from
Amen.
cell phones and everything else. So I mean, the only people who are immune to it are people who live in a cave that don't have a cell phone. You might say they're totally off the grid. But all of us, we can all fall into that, all be affected by that. We really can. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I remember back in the 70s when I came back from Vietnam in 1970, I knew nothing about PTSD. They never mentioned it. They didn't go, of course, it used to be battle fatigue. That was in World War I. And then there was, I forget what was World War II. Was it battle fatigue then? And
shell shock.
Yeah, shell shock. And Vietnam, it's it's your fault. Get over it.
Amen.
That was basically the way we were looked at, and so we had to roll our own. We had to do our own there. So but what you're saying there really resonates with me, and let me hush and turn it back over to you, because I just had to jump in there because it just really strummed the strings of my soul, you might say.
Amen. That's beautiful. No, I love it when it's a communication, and a lot of our people, you're right. I like how you beautifully said that. You've got people working in construction environments, mining environments, loud environments, minor accidents, minor just falling and hitting your head on a table, falling on a bike, accident, skiing injuries, sports injuries. Those are prominent. And the sad part is sometimes it takes a long time for the traumatic brain or the trauma brain injury to happen.
That's true.
And Dr. Clearfield started to learn, and a lot of doctors are starting to learn some of the symptoms of traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
And trauma brain injury. And it's pretty intense that we can now work on that stuff.
Yeah. Joel, you're the first person that I've heard, not talk about traumatic brain injury, but trauma, brain injury.
Right.
And and it makes so much sense, because as you were talking there, I've been at fireworks, watching the fireworks. You hear the boom go off and you feel the explosion in your stomach, I mean, that is, and that's got to vibrate up to the brain. By the way, let's do this here. Dr. Clearfield has patients all over the world. This is not a sales presentation. This is simply an opportunity for you to be able to get evaluated, if you like. And because we're going to be doing Emerson Brantley, our director of marketing, and one of our hosts, one of our great friends, because Emerson fell and had a very severe traumatic brain injury. He was in in ICU and in a coma for 6 weeks. He lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and you guys are located in, is it Reno, Nevada?
Yes.
Okay. Now, explain how that's going to work over the internet, because you do a lot of stuff electronically, but there's also some things you got to do physically with the blood and all that. Would you share that with the audience out there, please?
Yeah, it's almost the way medicine is starting. Well, it's the way medicine started to go with COVID. A lot of people, as you all remember, a lot of people weren't able to go to the hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people who were even sick were told to stay home. So
Mm-hmm.
we ended up pretty busy here at a private office because we stayed open because we were considered essential. And
Mm-hmm.
we didn't mask up as much as other people did because we understand the true reality of actual size of particles. So mask actually stopped the very large particles, but not the small
Mm-hmm.
particles.
Mm-hmm.
And so you end up trapping your own bacterias and your own crap could be working for you. Now they know that. Okay.
Yeah.
But point being is we still would mask up for maybe our 3rd stage or 4th stage cancer patients or our patients who were scared. And so we accommodated it, but we believe that it gave us a better immune system, and we stayed stronger longer, and we stayed healthier longer. And then if we got sick, we recovered real fast. So it was pretty powerful. And so what we do now is no matter where you live, we could do a over the phone interview or a Zoom interview. And even some of the applications now have interview possibilities and cameraing and video capabilities. So we could talk to you, get your name, your social, your birth date, your weight, what's going on with you, give us a certain idea. That way it gives him an idea of what to write down on the labs. And then he can order labs in your hometown.
Yeah.
And even as a doctor over here, he's legal. He has a license in California and Nevada. So if you're in Colorado, he wouldn't be able to write a prescription for you, but he could still see you. He could still do the labs. He could still do the lab process and say, this is what you got. This is what's wrong. And we usually, as you can see, we usually go by supplements. Okay. We always like to try supplements and food first and lifestyle changes and possible work changes, exercise changes, your pantry, your bathroom, stuff you put in your body and on your body. It all adds up. It really does. We get really overloaded and toxic.
Yeah.
So that's what we can do. And we can, and then there are specialists who are traumatic brain injury certified throughout the country to go into higher level labs if you really have bad brain injuries.
Yeah. One question that came to my mind as you were talking there, Dr. Clearfield, I got his website up there, drclearfield.net, and he's licensed that can write prescriptions in Nevada and California. Let's say if someone's in New York, New York City, for example, and you guys could do they could locally get their blood work done, and with whoever you send them to there to get set up so they can transfer the results to you. But if they needed a prescription for something, is the door open for their doctor to contact Dr. Clearfield, them communicate doctor to doctor, and then if that local doctor in New York City says, yes, we need to write a prescription, that's the way that can be done. Am I correct on that?
Yes, and not only are you correct, and I apologize for not having it on hand, there's one company out there that wanted medicine to be accessible to all. And so they created a corporation, and I believe they have licenses in all 50 states. And so you can call them up, and everything I just told you, you can do that through them, and they're allowed to write the prescriptions.
What do you have the name of the website of them? We'll put it on a marker.
I can't think of who they are. I'll do my best to look it up.
Okay.
There's quite a few of them. It's doctor websites, and some of these websites have nurses available, and you might pay a little consultation fee, but there's a lot out there for us. There really is.
Yeah. In the meantime, folks, you see Joel's the beard of knowledge. You see that on there?
Amen. Yeah.
Joel at 67@gmail.com or 775-384-7063 is his cell phone. So if you're in a need to know and you want to find out more about that, please get in touch with him. He'll be more than happy to get back with you. And he'll be glad to answer any question you have about anything that we've covered so far. My goodness gracious. And I'm just very excited. Dr. Clearfield is eager to work with Emerson and evaluate his TBI because Emerson's been through a lot. He had that accident back in December of 2020, and he was in a coma for 6 weeks. And then the poor guy, the doctor told him, says, "You're a miracle."
Yeah.
Because Emerson's 62, I think, or something like that. So you're a walking miracle. Most patients in this condition, because he had a brain infection, he had tubes draining the infection out of his brain from his head. Imagine that. And they said normally they go out feet first. And so Emerson says, "Well, I'm glad I broke the mole on that one there." Then the poor guy, he still cannot. He's limited on how far he can drive a car. He's not going to get on the interstate and go from one town to another. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have the confidence, and I understand that. But he can drive local to a doctor's appointment or something. But back in the summer of 2021, his wife Ann was driving, and they stopped at a stoplight. And Emerson said a lady in another car, a car behind him, rear-ended him. And he says, "Doggone it, that set me back," as you can imagine. So he had another jolt to his brain. And then here just a few weeks ago, he slipped and fell again. He's not, he's doing good considering all the things he's been through, but we're very, very excited about him working with you guys there in Reno and getting him together with Dr. Clearfield, because what we're going to do over a period of time, we're going to do updates on Emerson's progress.
Right.
And and Emerson said he'd be fine with that, because truth is truth, and this is not about selling anything. This is about educating people who suffer from traumatic brain injuries and all these little brain micro, you call them? What was it?
Micro and macro abrasions.
Yes, because any type of injury to our brain, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I got a lot of respect for that. And I just wanted to put that in there right quickly before we forgot. But when it comes to, let me put Dr. Clearfield's website back up there again. Let me find it. We got a bunch of banners here we could use. But Dr. Clearfield, his website is www.drclearfield.net. Please go there, visit that, and meet the man. We've had him on show. And it's a pleasure for us to have Dr. William Clearfield on the show. It really is. And Joel, you remember the first time we got him on TV? He came into that very room Joel was setting, folks. I got to tell you about this. And he was, getting some supplements. And we said, and I said, I was the one that says, "Is that Dr. Clearfield behind you?" And Joel said, "Yeah, it's him." "Hey, Doc, how you doing?" He thought we were on a Zoom call or something. And he looked down into the camera and he said, "Well, I see Jim Grant there. Who else is all here?" He thinks he's on a Zoom call. Right. And I said, "Oh, just me and Joel and millions of people around the world." Oh, and we put him right on the spot, a few words there. But, I love doing things like that. It makes the show entertaining and infotaining. But you guys have done a tremendous amount of wonderful things for people. And I know you're not going to mention any names. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but is there one patient that came in, and I won't say you had doubts or anything like that, but you realized how serious what a bad place they were at, or bad condition they were in, and you followed their journey and turned around? Would you share one of the stories there with us if you can, without mentioning any names? I know that.
Yeah. Actually, I got two great stories.
Okay.
The first one was a respiratory therapist at the VA hospital. It was a gentleman, a veteran. Mm-hmm. And this veteran came to us with horrible night sweats, rage, um, hot and cold, palpitations, just massively sick. And the VA couldn't figure it out for him either. And so he came to us and we did the labs. And before the labs came back, we get a call from the VA. He tried to kill himself. So Doc gave me, the word. He's like, hey, the VA just called and so tried to kill himself. And he still wants to retain us as his doctor. And he looked at me and he's like, let's do this. That was when it got real because, before he was just studying the book and we were just getting into it. And he realized how serious this was. He knew it was, but it boom, just hit us.
Yeah, the reality.
Yeah. And so we finally had him come back to us and we did the labs and Doc does his magic and we stabilized him. And now he's doing excellent. He's absolutely doing excellent. Him and his wife are doing great. Got his relationship back. He's in great shape. He's bicycling in and it's night and day. And the second one was a young 24-year-old who came to us and he had his mom with him. When you're really sick and dying and suicidal and all that, a lot of times you bring your mom or dad or your wife or your husband with you.
Sure.
And you can see the fear in their face too.
Oh, yeah.
It's fear and doubt because a lot of people who end up at our place as a DO, they've been through the hospital, big pharma regime, and they get saying, just take pills, just do this, just da-da-da-da-da. And it's in your head and all that. And they blame you and you're just seeking drugs and blah, blah, blah. So he comes to us, he does the appointment with Dr. Clearfield, and Dr. Clearfield does have a 1-hour process. And so he goes over the whole thing. He goes over your labs with you. He tells you what the supplements can do for you, what type of food you should be eating or not eating, and what type of labs we can further order if we think it's food sensitivities or allergies or metals or all the above. So the doctors are limited on their time. And Doc asked me to talk to him because we knew he was suicidal. And when he got out, I was just sitting with him in the office talking to him. And he didn't quite believe it. And so I have the gift of gab. And I know how to do sales. I know how to hustle. I can con someone if I want to. And it's not in a negative way, but I had to sell this young man on hope.
Yes.
And that's what I did. I did that using my story, telling him what Dr. Clearfield's done, telling him what we did with that respiratory therapist, and dozens and dozens and dozens, actually hundreds of other patients now over the years.
Wow.
And I kid you not, I saw hope come back into his face, and his mom saw it, and she started crying because he believed it.
Yeah.
It was wild. And I got mentors, coaches, and they're like, you got to get into business. You got to start making money. That's how you show you're providing value to people. And I remember walking out the office that day like, no, I don't. I'm not doing this as a volunteer. I'm doing God's work. And
amen.
And we fixed him. And he's doing awesome. He's got his relationship back with his dad too. And he's back into construction and just kicking it. Just loving it.
Let me share something with the folks out there in TV land. You see our website there. Our website is messagesofinspirationalstories.live, but that's kind of a long, drawn-out thing. Just remember our TV show.live. Just put in our TV show.live in the search engine, and it should redirect you to the Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. We're also on Facebook. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. My point being in sharing that with you, just in case someone out there, you see this and you go like, wow, I wish Mary or I wish Ralph could see this. Right. Please, go to the YouTube link. You can share the YouTube link with them. We're live on YouTube at the same time, even though we're on Roku, Amazon Fire, all these different branded channels. But please, please, please get the information out there. And please, ladies and gentlemen, please, please, let them know to go to drclearfield.net. Whoops. And I clicked on the wrong thing there. There we go. drclearfield.net and look at the information there. And if they see Joel and say, hey, I want to speak to the beard of knowledge there, let me put up his, I'm teasing about that. And I hope the folks on Pawn Stars don't get upset at me because I know that's a nickname he calls Mark over there. It's a fun, it's like I'm calling Joel, look at that
Same.
beard. I mean, hey, we're to have a beard contest between you two.
Right.
Oh yeah, look at that. You may have an interest. Oh, I ain't gonna say that. Your beard may be longer than his. I did not mean it. I did not mean it like that, ladies and gentlemen. But my point being, if someone out there can resonate, a veteran or anyone, male or female, if they could resonate, get in touch with Joel, because you can tell that Joel is a person from the heart. And he'll be glad to help you and answer any question you have, because when it comes to your health, you're entitled to have the truth and the facts, and at least have, like Joel said, you need hope. You need hope. And I know what that family member was like, because when I was in the hospital and I was in ICU going to have open heart surgery, I knew everything's going to be okay. You've heard that boring story from me before. But my wife came over to pick me up. She couldn't find me because I was supposed to be an outpatient, not in ICU. And when she came in the ICU, I looked at her and I saw this troubled look on her face. And this is how smart I am. I look at her and go like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I couldn't find you is what's wrong. I went over to, the outpatient there to pick you up, and they never, Jim, who? No, we never heard of him before. You sure he's a patient here? She had to go back up nurse's station. That's when they told me what was all going on. But the family members suffer too. Yeah. That's my point. And I think a lot of times the family members suffer harder than the patient or the person going through it. Because I certainly wasn't. I knew everything was going to be okay. I just want to get this monkey behind my back and get it gone and, go home with my zipper in my chest and, get out of here, But, you know how it is when a loved one's in the hospital and you don't know what's going on. You're hoping and you got your fingers, toes, and everything crossed. That's torture. It really is. We've all been there. We know what it's like. And it's really hard for the family members. So please let someone know about this that would benefit. That's why we're here today. And that's why Joel is so eager to do the show with me at times when I need a little extra help here, Right. Because Joel knows I'm mentally challenged. And look at him laugh. He knows that's true. But the main thing is we have fun. We're family. We're friends. Joel and I we're brothers but by different mothers. That's the way we should all look at each other. Yeah. And the love we have for one another, the compassion we have for one another, that's what gives us hope. That's what makes life worth living, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Joel, I tell you, it's always a pleasure for me to have you here on the show. I mean, where else can you go and find the words of wisdom from the beard of knowledge?
Right now I'm on Facebook and I'm slowly easing into Instagram. I'm just now getting up my website, and I've been, as you know, learning speaking, and I'm starting to speak at certain conferences, doing my best to get on speaking gigs.
Is Don helping you with that?
No, I haven't talked to Don in a while. I've just been absolutely.
Give him a jingle. He'd love to help you.
Yeah, I know. It's been a while.
He'd love to help you. Yeah. Dandy Don McGrath. He's a good friend. We ought to give him a shout out, huh? Right. Dandy, when I tell people about Don McGrath, I say the best way I can describe Don McGrath to you is that Don is the friend that you haven't met yet.
Right.
How accurate is that?
Absolutely one of the neatest men I've ever known, no doubt. I really need to get back, and I'll talk to him within the next week.
Oh yeah, please do. And because I know he would love to help you. He's the speaking geek. Him and Bill Heinrich created the 6-minute webinar. Right. Fantastic people. My goodness gracious. Well, Joel, our time is gone. Thank you so much for being with us, Joel. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. And I hope and pray that you will share this information because the information we share with you on this show here is much bigger than we'll ever be. You're the reason why we're here. It's that simple.
Right.
And I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Joel, thank you so much, brother. It's always a pleasure. And I'm going to give you a chance to close the show. It's your show. I'm going to go to sleep now.
Hey, man, just look at it physically. Look at everything physically. Even if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict, the reason you're an alcoholic and the reason you're a drug addict is because you're physically sick. You're not a drug addict or an alcoholic who's sick because of your drug addiction and your alcoholism. You're physically sick, and that got you to your alcoholism, and it got you to your drug addiction. So fix and you'll fix your addictions. Don't think it's in your head. Don't think you're less than. Don't think you're unworthy. You're sick. Fix your sickness, and you'll get better.
Woo! Wow, that's a powerful close. I know they say love yourself, and then you can love others. But what Joel said. We'll see you tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.